Hi guys, so this presentation is on myth, folklore, and beliefs in Native Alaskan culture. And just a little side note, when I first started this project, I was definitely a little underwhelmed. Went to my local library here in Michigan, and come to find out they literally only had one book on anthropology, and that was Anthropology for Dummies. And they had just about, I think, a half shelf on Native Americans and none on Native Alaskans. However, I made a trip over to my host college and I found a lot more material there. And when I finally did access the material I needed, I realized that this subject is actually quite a bit more extensive than I had originally thought, and I could probably actually do an entire presentation on the belief systems of one clan alone, or maybe even possibly a family. With that said, I decided to go ahead and do a general overview on the topic, picking bits and pieces from various different peoples of Alaska while focusing on some common elements threaded through a majority of the native peoples of Alaska. Myths and folklore are culturally significant because they reflect the needs and fears of a society. They are also an expression of a culture, and they are preserved through storytelling. This tradition has proven to be especially important among cultures with no written languages. Native Americans demonstrate their beliefs through oral teachings, art, songs, and dance. So myths can have many, many dimensions. Myths were primarily passed down orally, and these teachings are a key aspect of Native culture, and even more so among Native Alaskans due to the long, harsh winters. Storytelling was definitely considered an art form, and most stories actually had a set of criterion in which they were supposed to be told, and so stories were told in a variety of ways. Many are or were told around a fire, and others are said to require complete darkness, and some are only told during certain times of the year, so seasonally. And the narrator, when telling a story, always strived for cadence with their voice and seek to lull a listener, if you will. And some narrators would actually boast that no listener has ever stayed awake during an entire telling of one of their stories. And however, a listener could correct a speaker if they were knowledgeable enough on the topic to do so. However, with that said, patience was definitely considered a virtue as a listener, and most of the time, most people just listened and enjoyed the story when told. The most accessible of all tales in mythology are those on creation, where it is thought that the animals contribute to most of our earthly origins, and I will go ahead and give you an example of that in the tale on how origin came to be. The name of this tale is The Origin of Daylight, and it goes like this. In the first times when the land was still dark, Hare argued for light so he could find a place to feed, and Fox argued for dark so he could steal from people's food caches. Since Hare's words were more powerful, light came. So you definitely see the presence of animals in our origin roles, and this is a pretty common theme among most North American Native myths. However, the unique difference between Native Alaskan myths and those told in the rest of Native myths is that in Native Alaskan myth, the creator is Raven, and in other Native culture, it is coyote trickster who is the creator of all. So, some might even ask why myths are important. And myths are important because in this particular scenario, myths play an important role in the oral tradition, and also they explain why things are the way they are and how they came to be that way. Definitely not unlike Christian mythology or um, Jewish mythology or Muslim mythology. Um, they also bring family together to explore and celebrate in their heritage while also sustaining legacies. Most importantly, however, myths and folklore serve to immortalize and demonstrate the sacred and vital human and animal cycle. One of the most important dynamics in Native belief is the relationship between man and the animal on which they rely on for subsistence. Some would even say that the most significant element of the Athabascan belief system is the relationship between man and that an animal on which they heavily rely on. And many Native cultures, not just Native Alaskans, believe that animals are persons, referred to as non-human persons, and really that the only thing that distinguishes man from animal is our personal acts. Also, what's interesting to note is that there is no superior inferior status between man and animal, and this could lend to the belief that humans can be potentially reincarnated into animals, and this also suggests why there's such effort to pacify animal spirits. Great care has always been used in the handling and hunting of animals. Myths have warned that animals will not return to those whom are disrespectful towards their spirit, and so many would take great precautions not to offend the spirit. Great care was particularly taken in the handling of such vital game as moose and caribou. Excuse me. This also holds true with a seal as well. Um, just a note, found this interesting. A hunter, if he encounters an animal he's unable to kill, it is believed that that animal contains a reincarnated human soul, and the hunter must not pursue the animal. Just a note, there are many taboos and rituals when it comes to hunting animals, and not even every animal is to be eaten, but those that are giving an offering of sorts that I will elaborate on. In some cases, song was thought to have been an offering of sorts. Hunters might sing a song, and if the animal liked it, they may allow the hunter access to their personal power, which was considered quite formidable. In other cases, something a little bit more deliberate was given to an animal spirit, such as a bowl of water to a freshly killed seal. Also, is considered quite important to cover up the blood at a kill site out of respect for an animal. And lastly, people were definitely encouraged, particularly at a young age, to always be thinking on the animal and even try to seek out a personal connection to a specific animal species, which could potentially lead to their power. Last thing I wanted to go over with you guys are crest stories. And it's important to note that stories, myths, folklore, and beliefs are all indicative to one specific region usually. So even though there may be a common theme, most myths are unique to one area, clan, or even more specifically, one particular family. Many families had myths on their specific origins, and these were represented by clan crests, similar to European family crests. The totem poles that we heard about in last week's class were indeed crest poles, which depicted whatever emblem a family had the right to display. And more interestingly, there were myths on how each emblem was obtained and introduced to the family crest. And I don't have time, but there are many, many myths on how these emblems each were obtained and again represented in the crest, and some of them can get quite entertaining, and I really enjoyed reading about them. Well, I just wanted to thank you guys for listening. This has been a great semester, and I've really enjoyed exploring this topic that I presented. Also want to apologize for any stammering or anything like that. Definitely a little bit nervous, but again, thanks for listening, and like I said, this was a great semester. It's nice working with everyone.